Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Boys in the Zone. I am EJ Savage, and brutal loss this Sunday. Got to shout out the GRYD Network. I'm officially part of that now. And these two guys with me here are also part of the GRYD Network, and they run a very good show with their other co-host, Anth. But just shout out your guys' socials real quick, and we'll get rocking.
Well, first off, thanks for having us on here. Two of the tag team champions of the world, as we like to say.
Boys.
Bandwagon boys in the house. We represent Cowboys Can Fan at Cowboys Can Fan on all social media platforms. Coming to you live every Wednesday and Sunday, or anytime the Cowboys play. We do live play-by-play reactions, and then we do our weekly show called Wednesday Night Main Event.
Mm-hmm. And we matched up.
And we matched up.
We're colors without even trying.
We're color rushing our colors right now.
So.
I didn't get the memo, but hey,
yeah,
it's all right. We'll rock it. 31-10, and really the only touchdown of the game for the Cowboys came in garbage time with a CeeDee Lamb rush. Guys, just walk me through what you were thinking during that game, and what we can kind of build on going forward against the Dolphins this weekend.
Oh, see that we kind of both eyeball each other. Since I don't have usually I'm manning a bunch of stuff, so Alex gets free reign to just answer and jump in, and then I'll kind of forget what's going on. But since I'm totally here for the conversation, I'm ready to jump in before him. I mean, going into the game, we were excited. We had Cowboy Chris, or Dallas Cowboys Chris. He flew actually out from Arlington. He lives 5 minutes away from AT&T Stadium, and he flew up here to Canada, or down here to Canada, or up here to Canada, however you want to look at it. It's up here to Canada.
It's always up.
He flew up here to Canada, and he came live in the studio. So we were going into this weekend supercharged. Bills have had, predominantly a pretty, terrible experience this year. They had not a great record. So we felt confident that we were gonna win it. So the atmosphere for us going into that game was here we go. We threw all of our bets down. We thought it was a for sure win.
Yeah, throughout the whole game, I kept thinking, okay, the Cowboys are going to turn it around, but there was just something in the back of my mind or in the middle of my stomach that just told me this was going to be one of those games. And when we hit halftime, I think down 21-3, whatever the score was at that 24
along those lines.
Something along those lines. It was still reachable because we were going to get the ball back at half, so it kept that hope alive. But realistically, the Cowboys never were playing in a way that really gave me a reasonable reason to be confident that they were going to turn that ship around. I kept saying it. It just did not happen. And I shouldn't say for lack of effort on Dak's part. I know people might call me a Dak rider. It just looked like his timing or what with his receivers, or even maybe just his mental decision making was just off. But I did see there was, one of the comments online was lack of effort from the players at times, and I certainly saw that, but it didn't really stand out with me for Dak or a few other players out there. So maybe I missed that, but got to go on to Miami.
Yeah, I think that just during the game for me, I felt weary going into it because even on my last show, I was like, Buffalo's backs are against the wall. I hate playing teams when they feel the need to win more so than they are worried about losing, And they were playing at their house, and I said all week, I was like, if you get good Josh Allen, you might lose this game. Josh Allen threw 15 passes and wasn't even 50%. And that's just a testament to the trench play of their offensive line. Those combo blocks were perfect all night, and not only were the combo blocks good, but after they sealed that block, they got up to the next level. Their outside zone scheme, running the ball, was amazing. I think I saw 9 yards average on outside runs for Cook. So that just right there, 9 yards on average, that's a first down every single time you get the ball outside. And that's just, you're not going to win like that. And then the Cowboys were having success running the ball early on in the game, but once the game got out of hand, Then the Bills just sunk back into that cover 2 and really dropped their linebackers, clogging up all the passing lanes and forcing you to throw underneath. And at that point, it was balls were bouncing off people's hands before they secured the catch, and then there was a linebacker tackling them within a second of them catching the ball. So yeah, it was just all phases of the game were poor. I think that we can go more into detail on some of the things, and I asked Twitter about this. Is like, what are your main concerns with this team moving forward? What is some of the things that you're excited about moving forward, etc. But man, we'll get into it. I got to shout out chat real quick. The GRYD Network in here, my boys. Shouts to everyone. So we got to watch our mouths, guys. 12 is in the building. Kilo C, what up, fellas?
Our boy Kilo.
Kilo's a long-time Can fan participant and the moderator for you guys, so we got to shout out Kilo.
It's our boy.
I don't have his drop, but hey, man, I'll have to get it for you, Kilo. Ultra Cowboy in the building. They need to bench Curse. Strong statement out the gate. Lacey, teams always play Dallas harder than anyone else. I agree. And then Engineered Psycho, I'm here. First show, had a great conversation on X today. Cowboys Nation. So I got to shout everybody out right there. But just moving straight into Ultra's comment, they need to bench Curse, move Bell to Curse's position, and start Evans at the Bell position. Which is
that will, when you look at, I think we were all on this Bell high for most of the season so far, and we were saying, LVE goes down, you would have never seen Bell come into this position, but it definitely exposed, what is he, 200 some odd pounds, like a 200-pound linebacker is getting dummied on those runs, and that's my biggest, we talked a little bit about what we're concerned about. That right now is is an even bigger concern. Alex has been one of the biggest advocates on our show about that linebacker position. I think the last couple of weeks we've skirted past that issue because Bell's been playing phenomenal and no one's really been attacking us on the run the way that the Bills have attacked us on the run. And now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, look at Dallas is exposed right now because of that.
Yeah. AJ, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Bell. Like, everyone has, like, this was more of a group dropping the ball type of effort. You also mentioned earlier about those outside runs, and I don't know how much that's Bell getting smashed up the middle either. So I'm not saying that it didn't happen, right?
But I'm saying, like, blocking wise, you have these linemen who are able to clinch up on a 200-pound middle linebacker and allow Cook to cook.
The weird thing about the outside runs is you'd think with smaller linebackers you should have faster sideline to sideline players, and it was the opposite. Like, they were gashing us more so on the outside, but the inside runs were still going for 6 yards a pop. So it's one of those things when you're playing so much nickel. For anybody that doesn't know what nickel is, that just means 5 defensive backs, so that's safety and corners combined. And then they're not even attributing the safeties that are playing linebacker for us as well. So we probably had 6 DBs, true DBs on the field, and possibly 7 at some times, which is crazy. And the only thing Dan Quinn really did to combat that was just put 5 on the line. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, because the 5 up front for the Bills was just manhandling our guys. I don't think that I saw anybody really win a true pass rush rep all night. I mean, other than Micah Parsons exploding and forcing that incompletion by Josh Allen really early in the game, I just think that they had their heads kind of spinning, which is sad, because I was excited for the possibility of, hey, you guys can't beat good teams, we go and beat the Seattle Seahawks. You can't beat good teams that are above 500, so we go and beat the Eagles. And this was a test of, hey, this Buffalo team is a good team. They've had some rough games, but this is at their house. They're 5-2 at their house, 6-2 now, but they're a different team at home, kind of like the Cowboys are. So it was another chance to kind of exercise some demons and show the world, like, hey, we're on a 6-game win streak and we can beat the good teams too. And that just didn't happen. I am going to bring up a point by Ultra. He says Dak in the rain thus far this season, 4 games, and he's thrown for 0 touchdowns. Terrible in the rain. which is an interesting point.
That's why he changed his name from Rain Dakota Prescott to just Dakota or Dak Prescott.
Yeah, because that's a good one. Then Kilo says Dan needs to change up some of the things during the game, and I completely agree. I think that so many times in the past, fans would be super quick to call Kellen Moore out for his, lack of adjustments in game. And I think we saw that with Dan Quinn, and everybody praised him for moving Gilmore with DK in that second half of the Seattle game. But you didn't do anything to combat the run game of the Bills all game. And I think that you kind of saw it early on in the game. The Bills ran, they scored the touchdown first. And I think they came back and scored another touchdown, primarily running the ball. But then they went more to the pass a little bit those next two drives, and they were like, shoot, we're not doing good. Go back to the run. And then from there, it was just run, pass, run, pass.
Yep.
And it just kind of it snowballed. And that's one of the things with the game is sometimes you get a team that, for whatever the reason, you thought that they were going to do one thing in a game going into it, and you game planned all of that whole entire week for the pass, and then they flip it all on its head and go heavy run. That's just where I want to see the more adjustments during halftime. What did you guys think about that?
Well, I think absolutely that's been kind of the upside with the offense, or sorry, with Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn, I should say, but just both the coaches making adjustments at halftime. Typically, it's been more with defense that I've really seen it. So that's why going into this halftime, receiving the ball down by 3 scores, but one of them could be a kick. So, I felt, okay, this is where we are going to make the adjustments and come back. The scary thing is either either the adjustments were the wrong ones or not good enough, or the coaching staff doesn't have the ability to figure it out if a team decides to run on us like they did, or they do, but we just don't have the personnel available. So either way, the answer is not really like a positive outlook for that scenario. And teams are going to see kind of like the easy the easy map to beating the Cowboys is like, well, just if they're all stacked up front, just run outside, and if they're not stacked up front, just run up the gut. If that's the recipe for beating the Cowboys, it's really nothing revolutionary. A lot of teams are going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like
Go
you
ahead,
just brought up, like the inability for us to make those positional changes when stuff's not going right, and maybe it's a little bit of that old school mentality. Alex has brought up a couple times on our show, like how he is a fan of a lot of the new school OCs and some of these new school coaches in terms of bringing in different schemes and different plays, and they're adapting to the game. The game's evolving, and sometimes, I mean, it's a concerning thing where we can dominate these under 500 teams, but when we get up against a good team and we're not making those types of changes, and you're just like, well, I guess we're gonna just wait till next game. Like, it's not acceptable. Like, when your players, when something's not happening, it's like you got to shake something up. Like, put Micah Parsons in a linebacker role, shift someone around, move Kursoff, do something. Like, it's not whatever we're doing now is not working.
Well, I'd chuck it up to, and I'll propose this question for chat and you guys. Do you think that this is more about players, coaching staff, or the front office? Because if you look at kind of the Kansas City Chiefs problems right now, it's with the wide receivers. And they, for whatever reason, they didn't make a move at the trade deadline other than, a minor move. But you saw it is it kind of kept creeping back up, and it was like, well, we're still winning. Like, it hasn't bit us yet. Like, at some point, you have to realize you have a problem, and then make the move to go and fix it. It's a little bit of malpractice from the front office, in my opinion, with the linebacker role. Early on in the season, you lose Overshown, then LVE goes down, and you try to cope with that by signing a guy off the streets in Rashawn Evans. However, you could have had probably a decently good linebacker on the trade block if you really would have searched for it. And I think that that would have paid dividends, because when you get to this point in the season where you don't have a big linebacker and you need to stop the run, you can implement that guy into the lineup, and he's already fresh and kind of has a grasp on the defense and what we want to do, versus moving a guy who traditionally plays safety to the linebacker role and expecting him to be able to hold up and run fits and really shoot gaps like he's supposed to. So yeah, just what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the overshown and LVE injuries were definitely huge. And even before that, you know, say before Overshown showed up and showed out to look like a very promising player, we have unfortunately didn't really get to see that pan out. We already thought they were pretty light on the linebacker position. But again, it was just that hope and pray. And technically, you only need really two starting linebackers for the Cowboys, you know, and so because you got Micah Parsons out there playing kind of that hybrid role.
Yeah.
So I think they thought, oh, we can get away with this. They probably had the plan in the back pocket. Well, and if Lord help us, one of them goes down, at least we can test out Bell or, you know, another a player there. But of course, that we ended up losing both of them. And yeah, not making a move. I think that comes down to the head office. They do make good decisions with picks. And my bet is that, sure, they probably was some things available. It was just too rich, and maybe they weren't willing to like go into some deeper negotiations with him for that, right?
Mm.
But if it was anything, say over a fourth round or lower, first, second, third, or fourth, I just don't think Jerry is willing to give that up. I think he looks at those as too much like gold to give up for a linebacker. Now, of course, there's always someone out there who's worth a first round pick, but who, you know, I don't know who would have been out there on people's board, like who they could have got, because I would have certainly traded a third round and maybe even a second round pick this year, or sorry, next year, or the year after, whatever. The furthest year away I could take to bring someone on, even if it was just for a 2-year for sure contract, and then hopefully extend them like a young linebacker. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just not going to happen. And yeah, the move to go get Rashaan Evans is very Jerry Jones like, you know, will look for the guy who everyone will lie to themselves and say, oh, okay, this is going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
just to save face for a week.
Because you know, if we're not going to draft people, we're not going to go out and make blockbuster trades in order to kind of shore up the team. You know, the thing that you asked if it was a personnel issue or if it was a player, probably a bit of both. I mean, if you look at going into these road games and like the same type of energy isn't there, it seems, to the road games as they are to our home games.
Yeah.
And even when you cut to the sideline, obviously this is just watching as fans on the TV, and they're finding the shots of CeeDee Lamb looking disinterested or Micah Parsons looking disinterested on the sidelines. A bad play happens, but you don't, when they're winning and you watch the sounds of the sidelines and you're like, wow, this team's, they're jacked up. You hear D-Law going through and like amping people up. You got Fergie, everyone's having a good time and people seem vocal. But when we're losing, we don't ever get to see those sounds of the sidelines. All we get to see is the cutaway shots to, you know, everybody sitting in the rain looking like someone just took away their toy for being bad. And that is a little bit of a concern. It's like, where's that energy when you're losing? Like, get that fire in you, like figure it out as a team. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, they're professional athletes. They get paid a lot of money to do this. They have their own systems and ways. They've lost before. So, you know, maybe that's just how they cope with it. So, but just from the eyeball test, it's hard. You're hard pressed to not look at it as someone and be like, look, they don't even look like they give a rip about losing this game here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that fans have a idea in their head that tells them that, like, hey, you're in the position, you need to be more mad about this, or you need to be more excited about, like, really at the end of the day, it's a job for these guys too. And you don't wake up every single day and go to your job with a smile on your face. Same thing, you might not always wake up and be miserable at your job. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days, and this was a bad day collectively for the Dallas Cowboys. And
don't they realize that we all have fantasy football riding on this
yeah,
games?
yeah,
Betting, come on, guys.
yeah.
Well,
I will bring up this from.
Cook listened.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
Cook.
yeah, that dude.
James Cook.
James Cook.
Not Brandon.
Yeah, Anthony saying, "What up, fellas? 17 missed tackles versus the Bill. That's the most since 2020 when the Cowboys had a historically bad defense, and that was only 13. Let that sink in." Which I think is kind of what you alluded to earlier in the chat,
Yeah.
Off cam ads. But yeah, I mean, 17 missed tackle. I mean, I think there's like a unspoken saying, in football buildings, it's like if we just tackle really good, don't allow any yards after the catch, we'll have a middle of the pack defense just specifically on not missing tackles. And the Cowboys are traditionally very, very good at tackling and wrapping up. And I don't know if it was the rain. I don't know if it was just we're getting punched in the mouth by their offensive linemen and their tight ends that are pulling. But the Bills
we had great weather for most of the game. It wasn't until like a little bit into the third that the rain started to really come down. So
yeah.
it was a big portion of the game that weather was on our side.
Well, it was a light drizzle, but I mean, and that can play a factor in some of those arm tackles missing. But overall, you expect your guys to be a good tackling team because traditionally they are. And we, for whatever reason, I think that a lot of the times some of those tackles are them kind of just reaching out, even though they're completely blocked and getting pushed out of the play and trying to make a tackle, and they're really not in position to make a tackle. And then just not shooting gaps from our linebackers has just been big. I won't go to the extent of Ultra saying that Curse has been garbage, but Curse hasn't been good. I mean, the first year Curse was here was his best year. Second year, a little bit hampered by injuries, was decent, and this year he's been very, very up and down. He's had some pretty good games, but for the most part, he has been bad. And
he's had a lot of undisciplined games too, where he's caused us some decent penalties.
Well, that's the other big thing I want to bring up is the penalties have been huge all season. The Cowboys are the number one penalized team in the league. We only had 5 penalties this past game, but all of them came at untimely manners in the game. The roughing the passer with Josh Allen, you've got to know as DeMarcus Lawrence, just don't touch him. You already sealed it. It's a third down. He's throwing it out of the back of the end zone. Just why do you need to touch him? He's a big dude. That little touch isn't going to do anything to his confidence at all. Mm-hmm. And then the design by John Fossil to draw up that punt block, perfect. The execution of it by Sam Williams, terrible. He didn't have to jump. He could have just literally dove and blocked that, like straight at the guy's foot and blocked it. Yep. And it would have gave either A, an automatic touchdown, or B, a short field for our already struggling offense. And then the Zach Martin one, which I kind of like, okay, you defended your quarterback, but that gets that big gain, and then you tackling the extra 15 yards. That puts us within their field, and probably we're going to score on that because we feel good about how the drive has gone. And then you talk about the big run by Pollard that gets erased by a late penalty, a Tyler Smith hold. And that's 4 of the penalties I can think of. One of obviously the offsetting one with Zach Martin. I'm trying to think of the other ones.
Well, and the Zach Martin one, I think the
J-Ron curse.
I like seeing the Zach Martin one, but the fact is like, unless the rest of the team is going to start to rise to that type of physicality, like then it's pointless.
My thing is like Zach Martin, I appreciate he's ride or die for his quarterback, but you don't have to come in there and hit that dude down. Just come in there and say what he said, you mother effer. Don't touch my quarterback, or next time you're going to pay, or whatever, but you don't have to get the flag by hitting him down. And then the other big one was the J-Ron curse, bomb on the defenseless receiver. I thought that one was very tic-tacky. I didn't see a helmet-to-helmet hit or whatever. I think that he led with his shoulder. But all of those were super untimely. I think that 3 of them came on third downs, and it extended a drive for the Bills.
Mm-hmm. The punt definitely. I don't knock Sam maybe as harshly because he did break through, but I think he just had a moment of excitement and kind of went into a fight or flight mode and just ended up jumping instead of, like you said, he should have dived. So it was like he's really actually been, in the last couple games anyways, has been standing out on special teams. So I would hate to knock his confidence at all, but you're right. It's just like have a little bit more thought pre-snap to make it so you're not going to make that bonehead type of move, because the block was there. You just hit X instead of A,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As for the holding and the Zach Martin holding, I mean, whatever, that's going to happen in a game, and I won't knock it once or twice a month, right? But if it's going to be something that continues to happen and at the wrong time, that's going to add up too much too often. Hopefully something you can correct and not have play out here for the rest of the season. And yeah, Zach Martin, I agree. I think he was just coming over there. The guy was there. He stuck his chest out.
Yeah,
he's got a big fucking barrel chest and knocked the guy down. So
yeah,
and yeah, but and
I blame the rain for Zach Martin sliding into him like that.
Finally, the curse penalty. Well, it's tough, but it is, the NFL is so harsh on these hits. I mean, we saw, I think there was 2 this weekend, if I'm getting my weeks correct. But one that stands out was the Indy one on Saturday. Yeah, the Indianapolis player went to catch the ball against shoot here.
AJ, you're wasting your time watching an Indianapolis Colts game, bro.
No,
that was the night Big Chris just came in town.
And so messing around.
Out to the pub.
I had to go to the game was on.
This is why
half watching it.
This is why I don't know their players. But anyways, people will know what I'm talking about. There was that hit, and that's a very tough one too. It looks really bad. But what I'm getting at here, just a little bit of a sidestep. But it's around these types of penalties. Is like, how do we stop it then? Do the players then just have to like allow the person to catch the ball in those scenarios? Like, if the receiver is allowed to dive head first to catch a football, why can't the defender also do the same move?
I don't. Yeah,
it's really tough for me to understand.
Right now it's like you can't hit them high, where it's a possible call for helmet to helmet. You can't hit them low, or they're gonna flip and they're gonna scorpion themselves, to use a ridiculousness term. And I mean, you literally have to just let them catch it and then tackle them. I don't understand what you're supposed to do there.
Because even if you let them catch it and then pop them right away, that's going to be called an. I think that was kind of the other one. I don't remember the teams, but it was like a guy caught the ball, and the second he turned around, he got popped.
Mm-hmm.
It was shoulder to the guy. So no helmet to helmet, and he got on either a fine or an unsportsmanlike. I can't remember. But long story short, these happen every single week, and I don't know. I think Micah Parsons tackles in the new school way, where you rarely, and maybe this is good or bad, but you rarely see him like pop the quarterback. Even when he catches him, he usually grabs him, rolls him up, and rolls him down. And I don't know if it's a better way of tackling, but it certainly avoids penalties more often than not, than if you're just running in to like cause damage. So it's a smarter way to tackle. And maybe that's just the direction that we're going to have to see defenses go into, or that's the way the NFL wants to. But in some scenarios, like I said, okay, the defense literally just says, okay, well, we got to forfeit this because I don't want the penalty. So we'll just let him catch it and touch him when he hits the ground.
Yeah. I think that, and we might have got just disconnected. Hold on. Not sure exactly. Hopefully not. It said reconnected, so hopefully we're still live. Anyways, I think that they got to figure that out. They got to figure whether it is basically just telling the defensive player, like, hey, this is the only place you can hit them. They got to just define the rule better, because these flags are untimely manners, and it really hampers the excitement of a big hit. Like, you in the early 2000s, when you could still have big hits, it was exciting to see that. And it's one of those things that it's like, you don't want your guy to get big hit, but you don't want to get penalized for your guy wanting to make a statement hit on somebody else.
Sure.
You got to find the happy medium between the two, and whatever that might be, you got to figure it out. Um, I wanted to bring up a chat right here. Someone says, where is that at? Oh, Big Mike was pissed off at John Fossil for that punt block call, situational football. He did not. He did not okay that, is what Ultra said.
Oh
And
yeah, the situational football is what Ultra loves to say. Situational football. Players
yeah,
making dumb, same players making dumb errors in situational moments, I think is what he kept on saying.
chat, go ahead and let us know if we're still live right now, because my thing disconnected. So if we're not,
I I checked EJ, it looked good, but yeah, let's get some verification there.
okay, yeah, I just want to make sure. But then Ultra also brought up the point of okay, yeah, they're all saying yes, so that's good.
Sweet.
Yeah,
We
just
live, baby. We live. We live. We live on a Tuesday night with EJ Too Savage for you. Sorry.
let's go.
That was
Um,
sometimes you just gotta make a singing break, you know?
Yeah.
no, but where was that point by Ultra? You made a good point up here.
Big Mike was mad at Fossil for in that situational moment.
Yeah, I think that Ultra has a point there, because as soon as it panned to Mike McCarthy and John Fossil, it literally looked like Mike was like, "What the f, dude? Like, come on." And I want to say that Sam Williams has like 7 penalties already, and 4 of them or 5 of them are on special teams. And like, it's exciting to see a big edge defender be a gunner on a punt return and stuff like that. However, if it comes at the result of a lot of penalties,
Yeah.
that needs to just be taken off the menu. I mean, it's not worth it. And I always said I would rather have a dog that's aggressive and you got to pull him back a little bit than try to kick him out there to fight, But I wonder with our guys right now, especially Sam Williams, if he's more of a hindrance than a actual help to the team. And it's unfortunate because he has some talent. I right now it just doesn't seem like we can use him all that much. And then the lining up off sides has been a big problem for the defense.
My theory there with Sam Williams though is I think he wants to get out in there and play. He's put out some comments on the social media. Can't remember which one, probably Twitter or something like that, where he's mentioned just like a little bit of a cryptic post, but not too cryptic, where essentially he's saying, if I can paraphrase for the man, like he wants to get out there. So,
Yeah.
Someone put a post
Uncage
about
the dog. Yeah.
yeah, right. Someone put a post out about his ability to produce versus the amount of snaps, and like obviously at a higher rate of sacks or rushes, whatever the stat may be. So I think he's got that in him. He wants to get out there and play. They gave him an opportunity on special teams, and he's trying to make everything he can of it. He's just going a little too aggressive where he can't, especially when he's used to kind of meeting people within a foot, and then hunting down a quarterback or the running back or whoever might have the football. Where in special teams, you're running all over the field, so it's a little bit of a different aspect of football for him, I'm sure. And it might, he's just a big boy and he's just laying people out. Or, I mean, the offsides are definitely just a kind of bonehead issue.
Yeah.
But I want to see the guy actually utilize those skills in his right position, though.
It's tough when you have somebody who does feel like they have that energy, and you don't want to, like, Mike McCarthy seems like he has lukewarm energy. Whenever you see him talking, he's very like, he gets to a certain level, but he doesn't ever pass it. It's like his energy level is capped. He has like an alternator on it.
Yeah.
So, and you got Harris as the DB coach. He looks like he gets amped up. John Fossil, even though Vasectomy Jones, he doesn't have any nuts. He still has the energy there. So I don't know. I mean, bad calls. I mean, you're right. There are times where I think we've said at least 3 times this season, oh, Sam Williams, we like that. We would hate if he second guessed himself, because we like to see that energy. And, maybe it is coming to the point where it's like, man, you just got to
and
focus up.
All that being said, I think if the experiments, had a couple weeks here, maybe it's done. And maybe you, like I said, just try to play him a little bit more than actually on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And non-special teams.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Kai
Yeah.
101 brings up a good point. How about the non-challenge that fumble? In the first half, you still have 2-minute warning. The Bills are hurrying to the line. Your players are giving you the signs that it was a fumble, which I don't know if I saw like an emphatic like that was a fumble, and it happened on the far sideline. So I kind of give some grace to Big Mike for this one, but I'm interested in your guys' opinion.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Big Mike. Like there's a couple like so he had that dog of a challenge or timeout. What was it the other was it the Seahawks or was it the Eagles when they still scored a touchdown 3 in a row Seahawks where he challenges it right at that moment.
Yeah.
To get a call back. Like that's
touchdown
cool.
grab. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But in this situation, like when you have it like that and people are calling for it, like just go for it. I mean, if you see the players running to it, you're probably not. Was it in the first half? Because he didn't. We didn't use all of our timeouts in the first half, I believe.
No.
Here's my idea behind it is if you lose that, then you're possibly losing the chance to go back after they score the touchdown because they were driving, like Kai was saying, they were driving, but you lose your timeouts in your 2-minute offense to try to execute and get some points before half, and then you get the kickoff so you can go for 2 for 1. However, I see what you guys are saying. Your team is reeling. You need something to help, and go your way. So, yeah, I don't know. AJ, what was your thoughts on that, man?
I'm just looking. Can you call a challenge after you call a timeout, and then they'll still just burn another timeout?
Yes, you can.
So what I would have done in that moment is just called the timeout, because you're right. I don't want to burn both my challenges or burn a challenge flag, anyways, right? Maybe they weren't even aware. I think it's hard to not be aware, but basically essentially give enough time to be able to see it up on the screen. And then if you know that it's a challenge and you just call a timeout, or if you know, then throw
I know for a fact there is a team up inside of the booth that specifically what they are trained to do is give a call down to the head coach or whoever handles the back and forth between those to tell the head coach, hey, throw your challenge. This wasn't a completed pass. This wasn't that. Those guys, that's their entire job. And so whoever's job it was up there to watch that play and get it reiterated down to Big Mike in that time allotted, drop the ball. They had to pull that up quickly, get the thing, and obviously you got like a 5-second delay between what you're actually seeing and what not happens, but at the same time, you got to be on that.
Yeah, we did see it before they snapped the ball, so I can't imagine us on the network seeing it before a team could get to it. But let's say it was even a 50-50 flip. I would I don't know. I might just call the challenge because I don't really care about I hoping not to have to need 3 challenges. And then that reason is that burns a timeout anyway, stops it. We get to challenge it if we win. If we win, we get the ball.
Yeah.
If we don't get it, if we lose it, okay, then we stop them from being able to just move up quickly on that drive. Got a little break.
I don't think anybody would have called that a stupid challenge, even if like, let's say it looks suspect and you throw it and they're hurrying up. It's like, okay, here's why we did it. They're hurrying up to the line.
I remember the crowd reacting on the TV like, whoa. I think, maybe they were.
Well, I think as we were watching the replay, they were already putting the ball basically. So they moved pretty quick. Yeah. I can't remember now. It was almost like a blur for us when it was happening. I was looking at AJ because AJ is our resident challenge throw. He carries our red challenge flag here.
I didn't throw it though.
He didn't throw it.
I should have.
Yeah,
I think I was telling you to throw, and you're like, I'm not doing it.
My thing is, it's like hindsight's always 20/20. If you would have thrown it and it wasn't a fumble, you waste your time out, and then you go in your 2-minute and you're driving, and then Dak gets sacked, and you don't get the field goal or a touchdown or anything like that, then you would have been like, man, that was a bad decision. Shouldn't have wasted your challenge. Blah 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 blah. Same narrative, opposite way.
Well,
it's just
I hear what you're saying, but think of it this way too. And this is now we're playing a game of what ifs. You throw the challenge, you don't get it. You break momentum for the Bills regardless. And You give your team a break, so everyone gets a chance to regroup. So they don't call a challenge. You still now altered what continued to happen there. So
yeah,
like you like playing the game of what if. So like, okay, maybe they don't get the field goal.
We can agree though that what happened was not the right
Yes,
path.
exactly.
yeah. No, that's not in question. I think that the bigger what if play of this entire game is the bomb to Brandon Cooks that Dak missed early in the game.
No, you did not.
If you get that, not only does it go 7-7 for the score, but it allows your defense to be like, all right, yo, we're good. We got our offenses going. We're good. We just got to get stops. It also disallows the Bills to sit back in that same look, and obviously that looks actually to stop the big play like that. But it shows them like, oh, okay, they can pass on us. Like our game plan isn't as solid as what we thought. That one was a big one.
That would have also, sorry, yeah, EJ, that would have also forced, they wouldn't be able to just run it. Like they could sit back on the run a little bit more, and then they had the opportunities and they rolled the dice correctly, but they probably would have said, okay, we need to make some passes now because we can't not score. Whereas because the Cowboys weren't able to put any points on the board, the Bills were never behind, so they were never chasing anything.
No,
they
I know.
Able to go at their own pace, and it happened to be a pace that just like dominated on the ground. So
Cowboys aren't great chasing the lead. Like
no.
If we're close, like the Seattle game, we were chasing the lead and we overcame it. But like we're down like that. It's like they just get demoralized.
I'll tell you one of the big factors in that game was the crowd noise early on. I mean, you could hear it in the broadcast. It was loud in there, and that forced Cowboys, especially Dak, to go to a silent count and not be able to go, here we go, and get those guys in rhythm. That combated with the physical play of their corners outside, and then their linebackers just sinking back and their safeties just playing that zone. And really the Cowboys should have stuck to the run a little bit more, but we just got down and we couldn't. So it was just an unfortunate event. It's almost like how the Cowboys do other teams, jump out to that early lead, get them into passing situations. That's where our team is really good at exploiting other teams. Ultra brings up this thought. In 2024, I make Sam Williams my middle linebacker, 6'3", 255, and runs a 4.4. Pair him with Overshown. He has what does he say? Faster version of Brian Urlacher, which is very, very high praise for Sam Williams that hasn't shown that. But I wouldn't be opposed to trying that out if you want to shift him back into a linebacker role and see what you have. It's worked good for you with Shea taking a linebacker and moving him to an edge with Micah Parsons. So reverse that and see if it can kind of revitalize Sam Williams' career and just use him as a situational guy. As far as pass rush goes, not a bad idea.
Yeah, you see them be able to move on special teams. Like they're utilizing him in the gunner, you need to have have some sort of speed to be able to be useful in that position. But Overshown, I think, is the guy who's really going to have the speed there. But so I don't really mind him being paired up with a bigger guy who might not have that elite speed. But the other question you got to ask then is, okay, but if we're looking forward that far ahead, and I don't want to get past the important season at hand here.
Yeah.
But, we got some guys whose contracts might, like DeMarcus Lawrence, he, could be retiring in a year now if he chooses to hang up the cleats. I'm sure he'll be a Dallas Cowboy for life. But, you just got to consider that too, is Sam Williams may be more needed next year than this year. So that could change.
That's solid. I mean, you talk about DA, who's on a 1-year contract. I think Fowler's on a 1-year contract. Marcus Lawrence.
Those guys are maybe someone that those guys higher potential that they could be replaced in the free agency. Not saying that I would want to.
Right.
I wouldn't want to, but just the caliber is more readily available. But if D-Law decides to, like I said, hang on the boots or something like that, that is going to be much more difficult to replace.
Well,
Yeah.
why not cycle between Sam and Micah's position? So kind of if you're thinking of putting Sam Williams in the linebacker role, just alternate between Sam Williams and Micah. Have Sam Williams move up to the line, Micah move back, have Sam move back, have Micah move up, and kind of alternate them as these two hybrid players. Not saying that Sam Williams can replicate what Micah does. There's obviously the challenge with that is that if you do have maybe a less talented hybrid person or someone who you could put at any position on the field like Micah Parsons, they don't get into a rhythm of that spot. They can,
I think Sam Williams too is just beaten out by Fowler and Armstrong.
Yeah.
Well, my problem with I think that in theory moving Micah back to linebacker in game sounds good because he's played linebacker, but you have to understand the thought process of an edge rusher versus a linebacker. An edge rusher, they come up with their pass rush plan. If they know it's a pass, they look at stuff and dictate, okay, I think this is a pass, RPO, so I got to be wary of the run right here. They decipher that in their head before the snap even comes off. But when the snap does come off, they're constantly trying to attack. A linebacker has to read after the snap, read what's happening in front of him, shoot gaps, and then react. They're not going forward 24/7 like a pass rusher. So to ask somebody to completely shift their entire thought process in game is a lot harder to do than what people just think. So, and yes, Micah has done it in the past, and I will argue that Micah isn't anywhere close to what he is at linebacker as he is at edge. That's not to say that Micah's not a good linebacker. I just think that he's an elite edge rusher, and therefore I would rather have him as an edge rusher because that's the more important position anyways. So if you tell me, hey, we're deeper at edge, let's move Micah back versus a team that's really going to pound it and we know that they're going to pound it, or say, hey, Micah, listen, if this happens again, you are a designated guy to go back to linebacker, so you always have to dual prepare throughout the week, sit in with the linebacker room throughout the week and really understand what they're trying to do and their run game fits. And that's how you attack that, not middle of the game. Middle of the game, what should have happened is get out of the nickel package and put 3 traditional linebackers on the field. And if you don't have that many bodies, so you put Rashaan Evans, you put Damone Clark, and then you use a bigger safety, whoever your biggest safety is. Donovan Wilson, I think, is the best at reading and reacting out of those guys, or Marquise Bell, but he's very slight. And then saying to your corners, Gilmore, Deron Bland, we're going single high up top. You got to hold up in man-to-man. We have to stop the run right now and put 8 in the box.
Well, and you said Don O'Dowd. That's a name that we haven't really mentioned until now. He, to me, was the most physical player. It felt like when he showed up on those plays, like he was making his tackles. He was a physical force out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, adjusting it, and I guess possibly that's why, obviously you make a great point about the linebackers and are we going to see something like that moving forward based on this situation? Because you can't make that type of adjustment in game. It's like, well, great, we have a bigger problem moving into the playoffs because did we just give everybody the blueprint on how to beat us? I think that's like coming out of the Philly San Francisco game. There was a lot of, oh, now here's the blueprint to beat Philly. Did we just show everybody the blueprint to beat the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, I'm going to bring up this point by Anth up here. He says Cowboys gave up 220
pound sand.
Yeah, we can't bring them up. Cowboys gave up 222 rushing yards to Arizona, 170 to San Fran, 266 to the Bills. Every other game has been under 120. Cowboys need to get the early lead. That is their best defense against the run, and I completely agree. I think that when we have got gas in the run, it's teams jumping out to that early lead, and therefore it leads them to trying to milk the clock, and running that is just a result of doing that. And so especially against the slider linebackers and that nickel package that we love to run, it's tough sledding against the run. So the Cowboys, really, this is my game plan moving forward. Whatever the best 10 plays are for the week that you've been practicing all week, You go in there and you say, we want heads. If it drops on heads, you say, hey, we're taking the ball. You're going with your scripted plays, whatever 10 best are your plays, and you're going and scoring 7 quick on the board like that so that it doesn't even give them the chance to. And then you're telling, hey, defense, look, they're going to want to get these points back quick because we scored so fast. They're going to try to pass it. Be ready on first down for the run. Second and third, we're playing pass and we're getting in that nickel package. And then Deron, our guys up front, get to the quarterback. Deron, Gilmore, get a pick, get something, a turnover to really put it on these guys. And that's my entire philosophy moving forward. Because if you get down again, this is exactly what's going to happen. The good teams, especially the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins have the best run scheming coach in the league with Mike McDaniel. He was the run games coach there in San Francisco. He knows exactly what to do to exploit running game woes for other teams. So you got to be on your P's and Q's against the Dolphins this week, and you got to score early.
Yeah, it's not scoring against the Dolphins won't be as difficult, unless it's terribly hot. But luckily, it's I'm sure December in Miami is not too warm.
Nah, it should be right? Probably 70s.
Yeah, the road game in Miami.
Yeah, so because I just saw a reel online about how hot that Miami stadium can get, and the Patriots have to bring down this special benches when they play. But anyways, so yeah, but yeah, it's the offense who's able to just put it on us, put it on you in multiple ways, right? So, here's the thing: is if you do end up solving the running backs situation, now you have to deal with Tyreek Hill and Waddle, who just went off without him. So Hill looks like he's going to be strapped up and ready to go this week.
Yeah, doesn't matter because I lost to you in fantasy football last week, and I had Hill. So
it's very important that the boys get out there, and I actually wouldn't really mind if they got the ball first and went down there and made a statement.
Yeah, you definitely don't want. I mean, what if we're talking about Miami? Like, what Miami team's going to show up? I mean, they have a similar narrative to us this year. They have struggle against teams above 500, but they put teams who are below 500 to bed, like bad. Mm-hmm. So they've been beaten before. Look at that tape. Don't even consider all the problems that we had. There was nothing good to take away from this last game. Get your shit together. Sorry for the language. Get your team together and focus on what we need to do for the Miami game, because there was absolutely nothing but errors and mistakes and nothing to capitalize on. It's like, don't even build off of it. You completely throw that Bills game away. I actually think the amount of pressure on that Philadelphia game, it's like that game everybody was going for, and it's like now they're just it took a week of exhaustion from just trying to prepare and win that Philadelphia game, that we went in with no solid plan to Buffalo. Like, we can't. I mean, I'm thankfully it happened now and not in the playoffs. 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 Show the problems now so that we still have 3 weeks to correct it in a regular season.
Yeah.
Because we can't continue to just because it was working on the sub 500 teams doesn't mean it's going to work moving forward into January. Like, it's just we can't rest on those laurels of the season so far.
Yeah.
The truth is, though, we did come off beating the Eagles in an impressive win.
Yep.
In a game where the previous game the Cowboys did correct a bunch of things that allowed the Eagles to score. Now, okay, Eagles are in a 3-game losing slump and haven't been able to score, I don't know, more than 20 something points, low 20 points.
Good.
So maybe this is just their
San Francisco,
their quicksand part of the season.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, there's those two teams that hit the field, and they are the Dallas Cowboys, both the team that played against the Eagles and both the team that played against the Bills. So
yeah, I think that another thing though to mention is, like, the Cowboys, they've won 5 of the last 6. I mean, it's not, sky isn't falling because of this one game. Cowboys haven't lost back-to-back games at all this season. Can't say the same thing about San Francisco. can't say the same thing about what?
No, I was just saying I looked at him because we used to at the start of the season there was like a pattern, a win loss win win loss win loss. So we're like, oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
game. So because and we totally threw that out after they've been winning 5. So I just was kind of making. I thought telepathically we were on the same page sometimes. So when I was looking at him about what I was thinking, and he didn't, I thought for an instance we lost our power.
Oh, the problem is I still don't think you guys saw my pattern that I was seeing, and so that's what. Yeah,
that's what you were thinking.
My thing is that this team, like San Francisco's lost to 3 bad teams, 3 straight, losses. Eagles, same thing. Seahawks, same thing. Cowboys haven't even had 2 straight losses. So to say that the Cowboys aren't for real or they're frauds because of this loss, I don't believe in. I think that we can completely bounce back, and I think that Dak has been very, very good after a bad game, coming back and bouncing back and being very good. I want to shift this conversation, and we'll get back into the Dolphins stuff and matchups and all that stuff, but I want to shift it to, is Dak still in that MVP conversation? Tyreek Hill didn't play last week, as you guys mentioned. Christian McCaffrey, long shot, even though he probably should be up there a little bit more. Brock Purdy had a good game, but I mean, realistically, he threw 3 wide open touchdown passes. If his team slides up against a very, very good Baltimore team here this week and a very good defense, and then Dak adversely goes in here and beats a good Dolphins team at their house and has a good game, I think that Dak can get back into that conversation. Where are you guys at on it?
I think Dak's like definitely took a shot here, but luckily no one else stepped up outside of, like you just mentioned, Purdy. And I don't know that it's really fair to not credit Purdy for the work that he's doing out on the field, but there are a lot of ends attached to what he's doing. I think the real discussion there, though, is when CMC going to get some actual legitimate conversation about the way he's playing, because let's just say that the quarterbacks, none of them really break away. Well, there's a really obvious breakaway in terms of skill, the skill players outside of quarterback. So, yeah. But anyways, back to the original question. Yeah, it's really possible, but that comes back if he finishes off the rest of the season playing like he did in the previous games before Buffalo. Yeah, he's right back on schedule. It really just comes down to how the rest of the contenders play. So he's not out, but I'm sure he's not in first place anymore.
Well, I think after this past weekend, I think CMC's name has. I think a lot of people have brought CMC's name as everyone's saying the same thing. Oh, CMC should get it. Probably won't because he's a running back. But I mean, I think CMC right now is like the front contender for the MVP. And then, if anything, because of the stats and where they're at, it would probably be Purdy. And then Dak I still think has a legitimate shot to crack that top 3. And depending on how the rest of the season goes for both of those, like all 3 of those candidates, I think Dak's still a contender. Didn't have a great game, but it wasn't an abysmal game. Not like where people are saying Josh Allen's now MVP for the league. It's like, what? How can you even bring that?
Yeah.
Like, that's not even.
Well,
that's not even
I think that right now Lamar is up there. I think second right now, which is interesting because his numbers aren't great by any means, compared to like his MVP season. But if he goes in there and beats I don't know if they're home or away, but if he beats San Francisco, that's a big win on his resume.
Oh, for sure.
So that could help his MVP case as well. I mean, and even after that, I think that they end the Niners, that being, end on the Rams this season, which aren't any pushover of a team either. They're gunning for a playoff spot as well. And I think that, let's say that they lock up that 1 seed, do they rest some starters and drop one to the Rams? And how does that affect Brock Purdy or CMC's MVP case? Who knows? So there's a whole lot of football to be played, and it's going to come down to what Dak can do in these last 3 games. We know that he's going to be good against the Lions because the Lions do not have a very good defense, and it's at home. I think he's going to be good against Washington. Really, it comes down to this week, in my opinion, for Dak.
And I think like this, because Hill had to sit out for a week, and the week prior to that, he barely played. And then, the boys are going to shut him down. I feel like his name's been is going to be completely removed from the conversation. I don't think he's going to hit the 2,000 mark, which I think would probably be that kind of level that he would need to hit to get that spot. But yeah, you bring up a very good point about Lamar Jackson as a solid contender, specifically if he can, destroy
San Fran,
Purdy and San Fran this weekend.
Another discussion.
Heck yeah, Dak Prescott MVP, baby, QB1 in our hearts.
Another discussion though I wanted to bring up though is just like all pro. How do you feel about Dak being an all pro if he's not? Whoever wins MVP is obviously going to be all pro. And then how all pro works is there's only 2 spots for quarterbacks regardless of conference. Mahomes has had a down year. Josh Allen, sure, he has the total touchdowns, but a lot of interceptions. Trying to think, Lamar has had a good year overall, but I don't know if he has better numbers than Dak. I feel pretty good about Dak possibly being an all-pro, if not first-team all-pro, if he puts on some really good numbers in these last 3 weeks. And then you're talking about possible all-pros for the Cowboys as Dak Prescott, Tyler Smith, Zach Martin, CeeDee Lamb, Deron Bland, Brandon Parsons, Brandon Aubrey. That's 7 just right off the top of my head. So that's a very, very good showcase of all-pro players, which is better than Pro Bowls, if you know anything about all-pro teams. But had to bring that little discussion up. So I think we're all on the same page. Dak is not leading anymore, but he can get back into that discussion, I feel like, is kind of where we're all leaning.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And it all comes down to if Jalen Hurts goes around and stops losing the ball and maybe doesn't put up that many more passing touchdowns, but runs the ball in 6 times, I mean, he's probably pacing himself for to take over that spot. It really depends on the exciting element that the football player brings to the team, as well as producing quality stats for them as well. But yeah, I mean, it's Dak's to lose.
Yeah,
that's.
Did you guys watch that game last night by chance?
No,
I watched the highlights of it.
Yeah, so I mean, they really lost it on that last drive. 92 yards to the Seahawks to go and take the lead with I think it was like a 32-yard pass from Drew Lock. Front pylon, put it right there on JSN. Fingertip grab, toe drag swag in the end zone, and then they forced Jalen Hurts into a bad throw. I still don't understand his thought process there to make that final interception. So he finishes the game 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Obviously has 2 rushing touchdowns. You got to bring that up.
Yeah.
I got that guy on Twitter, some Eagles insider supposedly. He brings up Jalen Hurts rushing stats like Jerry Jones puts salt on his sausage McMuffin, bro.
Like who cares about him? His the rushing stats. You know?
It's great when you also it's for no lack of quality line and quality wideouts and tight end when Goddard's in. It's not like they're lacking in those departments, and this is why Jalen Hurts has to rush it in on the ground. And look, if he goes in and beats the Cowboys with 4 rushing touchdowns, all the crying and calling him a running back is not going to change the fact that he can cook up a recipe to beat teams, and they've done that. The Eagles have done that, but I won't listen to them saying, to trying to not disconnect the passing touchdowns, the lack of passing touchdowns, right? Yeah. Just because he's getting a lot of rushing touchdowns, for sure. But
currently he has 19 passing touchdowns to 12 interceptions.
Yeah.
Which is
terrible.
not even 2-1 touchdown to interception. ratio. So
Yeah, how many rushing touchdowns does
Is
he
that
have? It's
9?
like
I think he has like 13.
yeah, it's tough.
Primarily, I think 9 or 10 of them are from like 1 yard out. So,
Those are tough ones because
You should
arguably,
do those in those.
but well, arguably another quarterback could get those, say 50% of the time, and then another running back 80-90% of the time,
well,
some
that's my
100% of the
argument
time.
about it. Is it's like where you're getting those rushing touchdowns, most teams are just handing it to their running back. So, do we praise him for being good in doing that, or do we penalize him? I don't think you should penalize him because it's almost like it's like the same discussion as you penalize CD Lamb for working inside and out in the slot and outside as an like for that versatility. No, you don't. You say that he's good. He's good enough. That's a weapon. You use that. And so I don't want to penalize Jalen Hurts for that, but it's like I'm not going to praise you for doing what other teams just do and snap the ball and hand it to their running back, kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
And
I
then
don't
if
know.
you and then if you accept that argument and then you move, okay, now let's look at what he delivers as a even running midfield and not those 1 yard pushes. Then looking at those stats, uh, you know, blah 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 blah. It can become unfair because if you're going to do this and you're breaking it down and you're going to be building up frames on every quarterback's aspect of their game to make an argument, sure, that's fun and everything. I think that this has a lot of credence, this argument, but at the end of the year, he would have to go. He would have to be so productive for me to say that what he's doing is a better MVP than Dak Prescott and
Yeah.
what Dak Prescott's doing for the Cowboys.
He's not
Yeah.
even in my MVP discussion. There's no way.
I did see an interesting stat though that Jalen Hurts squats 600 pounds, I believe.
I've
So
never heard that one. Yeah, I never heard that one. That's crazy.
yeah, no, I mean, look, we talked about it like the MVP. You're the most pivotal player on that team. You're the main reason why your team is winning these ball games,
Yeah.
right? Like you're a big core reason. I don't
And
think
that-
Jalen Hurts is that reason.
And that's kind of the argument for the Brock Purdy thing. Is he
Yes.
the most valuable on his team, or is Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, Trent Williams? Because you took out Trent Williams and Debo Samuel for 2 or 3 weeks, and you lost all 3 of those games.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you juggle the between? He's been really good. But is he the most valuable to his team? You know what I mean?
So yes, so tackles are going to be really hard to do, but there is what stats are we looking at? I know that they have a bunch of stats. It's a really hard thing to sell as a MVP. It should happen one year. That would be great. With Debo, it really depends because he does have what I'm getting at is you need to be able to be impacting a lot of plays on the field, and that's why a running back or a quarterback, of course, they're touching the ball so much that they can impact the game quite a bit. It's difficult for a wide receiver to when they're maybe going to get the ball maximum 12 times in a game, and that's a really good game. But the impact, of course, it can come, but the quarterback is impacting the ball, sometimes 4 or 5 times more than that. Running back 3 times more than that. So that's where it becomes hard for me to look anything past a wide receiver. But Debo Samuel, if he wasn't injured and he was playing like he is now with how he is just being a kind of jack of all trades, essentially, that's really interesting. And I'd love to see someone like that. But that's essentially is CMC light, except for Debo, obviously, gets more passing yards.
Well, I think that the Debo thing, I don't think Debo is the most valuable player on their team. I don't even think Trent Williams is.
Right.
I just think that you take out Debo and that hinders everything that they try to do, because what they try to do is make all of their guys interchangeable. Kyle Juszczyk can be used as a fullback or a tight end. Same thing with George Kittle. He can move to fullback or tight end. Christian McCaffrey can go wide receiver, running back. Debo Samuel can go wide receiver, running back. So you take out one of those pieces from the operation, and it really messes up what they do. And that's why their offense is so impressive, is they figured out how to make it always a guessing game for the defense, regardless of who is on the field, because all of those guys can line up wherever, and so it's very hard to game plan against.
Mhm.
And so I would argue the MVP for that team, or it would be MVC, most valuable coach, because Kyle Shanahan dials things up. And yes, it's the players on the field doing it, but he is the mastermind behind the entire operation. Without him, I don't know that it's that well oiled and that explosive on the offensive side. That's my 2 cents, though.
No, those are good points, and makes me wonder a little bit more about CMC, like if he would still be performing. But regardless, the guy is the number one on any team.
I think, I think he's the best on that team. I will give you that.
Yeah.
What did I want to talk about? Oh, NFC East. We'll close with this. Well, I guess we can talk about a little bit about the Dolphins as well, but the NFC East race, the Eagles play the Giants, the Cardinals, the Giants to close out their last 3 games. So I want your guys' prediction on that record in the next 3, and then the Cowboys, they play the Dolphins, the Lions, and the Commanders. What's your prediction for those?
Well, I'll go on. I'll start because I've already argued with somebody about this today. I do think that we are gonna see a surprise Eagles, and I don't know if it'll be this next game or the last game, but I feel like they're gonna lose once to the Giants. I think Tommy Cutlets he's gonna pull out that miracle win. He's gonna toss his thing up in the Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets. He's gonna get some of that new. There's not a lot of tape on him. Who knows how he's gonna operate? I think getting him in the slump, the best chance would be this upcoming game, because I think it feels like internally the Eagles are falling apart. So I think the Eagles are gonna go one more loss and then they'll win out on 2. So they're gonna lose one more and then they're gonna win 2.
2 of the 3
on their next 3, and then Cowboy wise, I think we're winning out the rest of the season. I wasn't expecting the Bills to be the lost game. I thought Detroit was going to be the game that we were going to lose. So now, but I'm still staying strong.
I just didn't. I never had Detroit as my game. I mean, they can score, but I feel like you got the Ring of Honor ceremony for Jimmy Johnson, and then
but that's why I feel confident now that we're winning the next 3.
Yeah, AJ.
Well, I do hope that it's a win against the Giants on the first game, because if the Giants beat them on the third game, I'm inclined to believe that's because Eagles sat all their starters and they didn't need to, like they didn't need to win that game. But look,
I think they have to unless the Cowboys drop one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if it gets
I got
after week 18 and they lost, it'd be to the Giants. Like I hope it's the first one and not the second one, basically. Right. But yeah, I see a win for the Eagles, and it feels like it would be the next game, but the opponent is just so dog crap. Like, I mean, it's really hard to put money. I'd have to put my money on Arizona.
Arizona is the sneaky one, because not only do they have their ex DC and Jonathan Gannon as their head coach, but they got Kyler Murray back, and he's kind of getting back into the wheel of everything. So that one's an interesting one for me. And if they do lose that game, I think that actually you can drop one, and still have the tiebreaker just because of the common opponents. So you would have to
both of us losing out to Arizona. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you mean?
Well, no, you have to beat Miami, but after that, I think that you can lose to the Lions and be safe. You have to beat the Giants, though, I believe. Or the Commanders, which, I mean, come on. Commanders is the most likely dub out of all 3 of these ones for us. So,
unless we decide to sit a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Well, look, if the Eagles can't score more than 20 points, it's it's likely that Arizona can. I don't have the confidence that the Giants are going to be able to put up.
The Eagles' defense is so bad, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see how big of an impact Matt Patricia makes to that defense, truthfully. But I did want to go. So the first four, or AJ, go ahead and.
I was just gonna like Tommy Cutlets could throw a late game touchdown, and Saquon could rush, for 150 something yards and a touchdown, and then get a field goal off that. So there is a chance that they could put up enough points and squeak out a win. But if I was to have to guess, and that's what you asked us to do, it would be Arizona. I wouldn't mind.
I mean, people forget this though. Is Saquon Barkley's only on a 1-year contract? He's going to be playing for a contract, whether it's with the Giants or somebody else next year. So that's not going to be a rollover game for Saquon. He's going to be fighting for that. And I think that if you play to the strengths of what you guys do good, use the RPO game, and Tommy DeVito, Danny, man, that'd kill me to see him.
Danny DeVito. Hey, I am in there.
Tommy DeVito, he has good legs, so if you utilize the RPO game, I think that you could beat the Eagles. But who knows?
Is it Giants at Philadelphia? I don't know.
It's at Philadelphia this week, and they end it on the at Giants.
Interesting to see what DeVito's family and his agent are going to be like at Lincoln Field when they play.
Yeah.
Having the DeVito
hopefully they're in a box.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, come on, there's some hard, rough-necked Italians. So they.
That's why I'm saying, like, you're putting them into a melting pot. Chances are they'll probably sit lower bowls, so they won't get all those trash Eagle fans kind of in their face, but. Yeah, I'll be more interested to see what happens in the stand with the DeVito family.
That's the more interesting part of the game.
That's the fight. That's the real fight right there.
Yeah, that's.
What do you think about the Cowboys?
Oh yeah, Cowboys. I mean, it becomes really hard after this last game.
Ooh, I don't like that. You're so confident.
No, but again, I'm going to put a lot of it just on the weather and kind of just the mojo maybe of that whole thing. I think going into Miami, at least you take that factor away. I'm certainly less scared of Miami's defense, so I hope the offense plays better. But then their concern is the defense, and if Mike McDaniel is going to run down our throat, I mean, it is lining up to be just another repeat. So if there is one more loss, I'm willing to take that. We're in the playoffs, and I think it would happen. It would happen against Miami if it's going to happen.
Okay, so you're going for the 3 dubs, but if we do lose one, it's going to be Miami, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be the first time that the Cowboys have lost 2 straight all season.
I know, but it's just that explosiveness. Like, I don't think that we played back-to-back teams like this yet, and then you can even throw in Detroit as well.
Yeah,
like
Detroit can run it really well too. So
yeah, so we're gonna get 3 teams in a row here, and regardless of the record from this point on, it's just let's please see improvement on the defense if they happen to decide to run the ball down our throat again. At least let's cut that average yards.
I think. I mean, don't quote me on this, but I think that the Cowboys already have the 5 seed locked up from how it's looking right now, because the people that are in the running right now to make the playoffs, the Rams, so the Vikings would be the only one. So the Rams and the Seahawks, though, we already have head-to-head wins against them. We're already 10 wins. So if we all finished out 10-7, Cowboys lost out, we would be better than both of those teams guaranteed, because we have the head-to-head victories over those. The Vikings is the only one, and or the Packers. So that would be interesting to see that. However, I'm pretty sure that the Cowboys could completely lose out and still be the 5 seed, which isn't going to happen anyways, because they're going to beat the Washington Redskins. Sorry, excuse me. Don't cancel me. Don't cancel me.
You're canceled yet, baby.
Commanders. That's almost a guaranteed dub for me, in my opinion. But we'll see. I do want to jump quickly to the Dolphins game. Yeah, we don't really get to break down it as much as I anticipated. I don't know how time flew this fast. But beside the point,
time flies when we're having fun here, boys.
Exactly. Beside the point, the Dolphins, like I said, they have a really good running game. You know what they can do on the outside with Jalen Waddle, with Tyreek Hill. They have other weapons as well. I mean, they have a very good passing game and a very good running game. They complement each other. Their defense is suspect, to say the least. I think that they have good players on defense, but overall, I don't think that they're very. How do I put this? Like, they're a good defense. They're just not elite. You know what I mean? They're not great at stopping the run. They're not great against the pass. They're just kind of middle of the pack for me. And so I think that we can exploit their defense. If it gets into a shootout, though, can your defense get a stop like they did in the Seattle game? That's what my question is for you guys. Do you think that the Cowboys have that grit, that they can sink in and into the mud and get a stop and figure out a way to come out of that Miami arena victorious? If it comes down to, you got to make a stop.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna, because
My alarm threw me off.
oh yeah, we were going like I would answer first and then you would answer first, and we were kind of going back. So it was your turn to answer first, but I'll take it then. I do believe that we're gonna be able to stop Miami. As solid as coach that Mike McDaniels is, and the talent that we see on the offensive line, or not the offensive line, the offensive side of Miami's ball, that I do think our defense is still a solid defense team. Last game not included. I think coming off of last game is going to help this game, and our team's going to be upset with how they played. They need to prove this, that they need to reprove to everybody that we are for real. And I do think that we're going to have that crucial moment where our defense is going to come up big, because we have seen it multiple times this year already, where our defense does their job and then they put it back in the offense's hand.
Do you have a score prediction?
Yeah, I think I do. That said, I do think it's going to be a fairly high scoring game. I feel it's going to be, I want to say 33-31.
And that bodes well for Dak's MVP candidacy. If it's a high scoring game and he goes in there to their house and beats them,
Cowboys.
I think that pushes him back up into that, the realm, and especially with what happens in that San Fran versus Baltimore game. If that's like a defensive like grudge match or something like that, that takes Lamar and Brock Purdy kind of down a step. Hey, we'll see. AJ?
I actually was going to even say I was going to be in the 40s. Both teams were going to be in the 40s, but I tapered myself back. Sorry, AJ.
Stand on it. Hey, you saw what DK did. I don't know how to do it exactly, but stand on that business, bro.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing that I am worried about, is like, because of the speed of the receivers, are we going to see a Seattle 2.0 and have their receivers run over us? I think we'll have made those corrections, like that. We're coming into this game knowing that that's going to happen, like knowing that the receivers, DK just ended up coming out and having a game, and Geno Smith was throwing like an unreal quarterback. So I think it was a little different circumstance in that area. They not that they went unprepared, but DK Metcalf is a unit. So sorry, AJ.
No, I kind of agree with Adam's closeness here, but I bumped it up a little just to add on some field goals. I think it's not going to be difficult. I don't think it's going. I would be surprised if Miami scored 5 touchdowns in this game, but I think the Cowboys outscore them with the help of awesome automatic Aubrey, not awesome Richards. And it could be the tune to it could be like 3 field goals, or it could just be 1 field goal, but I think that it's going to be 37-35 Cowboys.
And when do you think we can make the stops? And do you think our defense is going to come up big when that moment's needed?
No, I think the offense is going to roll a lot better, and that's going to help defense seem better. But I don't think we haven't done anything to solve the issues, so they're going to keep happening. Like I said, the only thing that's going to be different is the rain. If you take the rain away, I think Brandon Cooks catches that touchdown. I don't think Dak overthrows that big pass in the Bills game, and that unravels a lot from that point on.
Kai also brought up during that throw, he was throwing it with the wind, and that's why it kind of sailed a little bit more than what he was
I see.
anticipating.
Oh.
And so, the Dolphins don't have a dome. I'm almost positive about that.
It's open.
Yeah, it's
It is,
open.
but-
It covers I think it covers the fans, and it's a grass field. If you believe in the grass versus turf stuff, so we will see. If I had a prediction for the game, I think that it's going to be a shootout as well, and I think that you're going to have to use a lot of motion. The Cowboys only used 44% motion against the Buffalo Bills last week. That was the second lowest since the 49ers game. In the 49ers game, we used 39%. So that motion rate has to go way, 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 way up. I would run it, 70-some% of the time against the Dolphins this week, and I think CeeDee Lamb has to have a big game. I think Tony Pollard is starting to get his feet under him a little bit more. I expect more utilization of Tony Pollard, and I think that Jake Ferguson is going to just completely go off on their linebackers and their safeties that try to cover them or him. I like Javon Holland, but I don't know that he's going to hang with Jake Ferguson like that. I think that he's starting to get the recognition he deserves as a tight end, as one of the best in the league. If it wasn't for Sam Laporta, I would put him in there for the a Pro Bowl this year. But man, that kid has been really good for Detroit. And I mean, you guys know we talked about him during the draft process. He was one of our favorite guys.
Yeah,
we talked to him in the draft process, and AJ has him on his fantasy team, and he ran a train on me this weekend with Sam Laporta.
Sam, I mean,
he had Jared Goff, and he had St. Brown. He had three of the like it was AJ, just those three players, and this is in a league. And he had like two. It was like 190 points, and I had 50 points at one point. At one point,
dang,
and it was also like three players.
You just needed Jahmyr Gibbs on there too.
Yeah.
I think that it's funny because we always circle those Iowa tight ends coming out of the draft, and we're like, this guy could be the next dude. And Sam Laporta has lived up to it, man. He's been a beast. So interested to see what happens with the Detroit game. That's gonna be fun. But right now, I think you're gonna have to win in a shootout. I'm gonna go Cowboys 38, Dolphins 34. I don't know why. I'm just going to put that down, man. And a bold prediction for me, Dak Prescott, 4 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, 3 touchdowns. My boy's going to go off and put everybody on notice that he's one of the top wide receivers in the game. And I do think that the defense gets home on a few sacks and stuff like that. I just think that they're very good at playing behind the chains and making, those big plays to get back where you want to be as an offense and drive down the field. So those are my predictions for that game. I'm going to read through a little bit of chat, what they said real quick. Do you guys think that Slay is back for the Eagles next week? I don't. I think that they're going to rest him for the Giants game, just knowing that the Giants aren't an aerial attack. I think that they can afford to rest him another game. Engineered Psycho, who's a first-time listener and came in here. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining, and leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content. He says, all that matters is that we win against Detroit and Washington. Eagles will lose one of the New York Giant games, and we can lose one more since Eagles lost to the NFC team. We have a buffer as of now, preferred to lose the AFC game. Yeah, so Engineer Psycho, if the Eagles lose the Giants game, either of the Giants games, all the Cowboys have to do is finish with the same record and beat the Commanders in order to have the tiebreaker, because they will have a worse division record if they lose to the Giants. So it doesn't, it doesn't matter who we lose to, even if it is the Lions or the Miami Dolphins, wouldn't matter. Ultra says Cowboys have a problem facing teams that have a running quarterback, not just a good running back. Which I don't know if I completely agree with, because I don't really think Brock Purdy is that great at running the ball, but we got smashed by the 49ers. That is the chat, and I just appreciate you guys coming on late notice. I'll try to get more of a notice on next time.
Good. Happy to be on your show.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, this is your guys' first time.
I like being one of the boys in the zone.
Hey, I will be in your guys' show, I think, for that Lions week.
Sweet.
So that'll be fun, and I think I'm tuning in for like main event during the game and
Awesome.
post game. So the
Yep.
trifecta right there. It's gonna be fun.
There we go.
If you guys are still in the chat and you do not follow these guys for whatever reason, go follow Cowboys Can Fan. Not only are they super cool guys to just chill with, but they're like a halfway cowboy show, halfway like comedy show. They're always making me laugh when I'm chilling with them in the chat, and whenever I get on the show with them, it's always a great time. So thank you guys for coming on. We'll have
Thanks
to
for having us.
do it more often, but off season, we're going to be grinding on that draft
Oh.
stuff again and getting together a lot.
Draft
So
extravaganza, baby. You know it.
of course. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next week on Tuesday. Peace.
Peace. Crack him if you got him.
Yeah. Forget what you got, none of it matters until you don't work from the top. I'm talking non-stop, squad. They've been down with me for years, and none of them asking for squad. Squad, five, out of the gutter, don't stutter, I'm taking my shots. Pop, block, out the noise, some others, my brothers and me, we going off. Bippity pop, talking that ish, I'ma empty my clip, my Google go pop. There goes another, I'm jumping for cover, then I'm taking off, we not getting caught. Tired of violence, but you pushing buttons, it's something that's ticking me off. Soft, say it again, gonna regret it, I'm talking beheaded, your body's gon' rot. If you do not know me, don't comment on my life. Don't comment on my daughter, don't comment on my wife. Me, I'm just a father, gotta hustle in the night. Ski mask with a 45 like MJ, take a flight.